Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Appetite for Collectibles during our famous little funny segment that I like to do. Hey, I was in Star Wars. Today we have Sean Solo, who is joining us,
What's up, everybody?
and we have the legendary man himself, Dickie Beer. Hi,
How are you?
Dickie.
How are you guys?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did you
Oh,
get
okay.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
So, where actually are you, Dickie?
Where am I?
Yes, where exactly are you residing? I know you're in the States.
I am in California,
Oh, okay.
Los Angeles.
Oh,
That's big.
nice. Yeah,
Yep.
I went to San Francisco last year and it was a lot of fun. So I eventually one day would like to venture off and check out Los Angeles.
Okay. So you're East Coast.
So I'm in Florida and Sean is in
South
South
Carolina.
Carolina.
Yep.
South Carolina. Hmm.
Yep.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of.
We're all the way.
Yep.
That's the beauty of technology. We speak to so many people all around the world, and it just brings everyone together. It's crazy. It's crazy. You wouldn't have never thought about this, even before COVID, because ever since COVID, I felt like people started working from home and doing all the online stuff and the Skyping and stuff like this. And it's weird though, because you get to know people, and then when you actually finally meet them and face to face, it's like you've known them forever because you speak to them on the computer, like sometimes on a daily or weekly basis. It's pretty wild.
So I do have to ask Dickie, how did you end up starting this legendary career of yours that you have, from being, a stunt performer in Return of the Jedi, which you played numerous of roles, which I got to see, what was it recently, which I thought it was absolutely phenomenal.
There were quite a few roles, yes, but um, I was never meant to be all those parts that I played in Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I was only supposed to be a rebel soldier, a biker scout, a stormtrooper, and a character called Barada, and that was it. No more than that. But when we came to the location in Yuma, Arizona, and we started rehearsing, falling onto the Sarlacc pit and rolling into it, people were getting hurt. Um, I think we lost about 5 stunt guys
Oh
in
my God.
in 2 days rehearsal. So, um, and they ended up with broken legs and twisted
What?
ankles and torn ligaments, all that kind of stuff. And when we started filming, we were running out of stunt people. So, so then
My gosh.
one day we needed a Boba Fett on set, and the guy that was supposed to be Boba Fett, he got hurt, and or he was one of the guys that got hurt, and then the stunt coordinator Glenn Randall, he got into the costume, and he did the part flying from the barge onto the skiff and starting the fight with the guys, and then the rest of the scene, he realized that people were getting hurt. And apart from the fact that he was the stunt coordinator, and as a stunt coordinator, you're normally not supposed to get on film. You're coordinating, so you're taking care of the other guys that are getting on film. So when that happened, he realized that he was getting hurt. He could get hurt, and then he didn't want that to happen, obviously. And he looked around and he looked at me and he said, "You go and put that blue costume on." And that was it. That's how I became Boba Fett. And the same thing with the Gamorrean guard that's on the barge deck fighting with Luke Skywalker. That I was not supposed to be that guy either, and I ended up in that costume as well. So that's
Wow.
why it became that I played, like, what is it, 5 or 6 different roles in Return of the Jedi.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And also there was two of you that were Gamorrean guards on that sail barge. I think the other one was Stephen Constantino.
No, he's never been in the costume.
Oh, okay. No, I think he was.
He let me put it right. He was in the costume, but he was never on film because
Okay.
him and Corey, Billy Dean's son, they were visiting the set, and then one of the ADs was looking for stand-ins, which is like you get in front of the camera and they line the camera up on you. They get all the right positions for everybody. That's all they did. They were never on film. So
Ah, okay.
Okay.
I'm actually a bit annoyed with Stephen Costantino because he was telling stories that are my stories. Like I had a story with the Gamorrean Guard outfit when Mark Hamill knocked me out, and when I ended up on the deck. Uh, we needed three people to pick me up and put me back on my feet for take two. So then we did that. And then take two was done. Then they said, okay, let's do another one. And we did take three, and they called action. Mark Hamill comes in, knocks me out. I'm on the deck. And then they called lunch. And lunch on a film set is crazy. Like, everybody wants to get to the kitchen
Hmm.
because they don't want to stand in line. And Mark Hamill knocked me out. I'm on the deck. They called lunch, and everybody left, including the three guys that were supposed to pick me up. So here I am on the deck. Everybody's gone. Screaming what I could. I was screaming like crazy, but nobody could hear me because of that mask that we had on our head.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I don't know is I passed out, and that was it. And then next thing I do know is I wake up, the head is off, and Princess Leia is slapping me in the face.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so what happened was, like, I was supposed to meet her in her trailer and to go through a scene that we had to do the next day, and I didn't turn up. And because she was in the same scene, because she was behind the big gun, if you remember,
Hmm.
just before Mark gets to her, and they swing away from the barge. Anyway, she was in the same scene, so she knew that I was still up there. So she took two guys, the two of the three guys that were supposed to pick me up, and went back up onto the deck of the barge, and she saved my life. So
Wow.
because honestly, I don't think I would have made it if I would have been there 1 hour laying down, passed out in that heat because the temperatures were into the 120s. So it was
Oh,
pretty rough.
wow.
It was pretty rough
Wow.
out there. But what annoys me about Stephen Costantino is he was telling this story to people as if he was the guy who was doing the stunts in that movie, which he wasn't. So
Right.
there we are. There's that one off my chest because it's been annoying me for a while.
Oh man.
We get the real in-depth stories of
Right,
the behind the scenes of Star Wars.
right,
But honestly, as fans, that's what we want to hear because we've all seen the movies thousands of times. But it's nice to hear the behind the scenes. Like I'm very intrigued by that. Just to like in movie making in general, I've always just been enamored by it. And just to hear just your little stories or anyone's stories behind it just gives you that little peek. And
right.
I appreciate these stories.
Yeah.
But but I was curious though, like because you're a stuntman. As a child, were you always like a pretty rambunctious child that would just try anything? Like, what really got you into like, okay, I'm gonna be a stuntman?
No, I never had the ambition to be a stuntman or anything like that, or even work in the film industry because I knew nothing about the film industry. I had no intention to go that way. No, I was more looking into the car industry, the automotive industry.
Okay,
But I was looking at what my career would be and where my career would go, and I didn't like that. It didn't go with me. It was like it was going to be a 9 to 5 job and all that kind of stuff. So and that's totally not me. So I decided to stop working in the automotive industry and uh, jump from one job into the other until I find one that I would really like. And
Mhm.
literally 3 weeks after I quit my job in the automotive industry, I heard about an audition for what they called special extras for a movie, which was back in the Netherlands. And I went to that audition and I got a job. I got a contract for 2 weeks, doubling for an actor, sitting in a jeep, being a dead body, and the jeep was driven by James Caan.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
And
Nice.
the guy I was doubling for, his name is Nicholas Gamble. He's a Canadian actor. Anyway, that was my first job in the industry. But as I said, I knew nothing about the film industry, had no idea what it was all about. So, in between filming, during those 2 weeks of filming, in between filming, I was walking around the set and asking everybody what they were doing, how it worked, and I was really interested in what was going on. And I thought, like, this is a funny world. This is like very interesting world. I mean, it's nothing
Yeah.
is the same. Every day is different. And so after my 2 week contract, uh, as I said, I was just sitting in a jeep, being a dead body, and the jeep was driven by James Caan through a forest, like jumping ramps and hitting trees and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And after the movie was after my work was done, the stunt coordinator, his name was Elf Joint. He came to me and he said, like, it looks like you're interested in our business. And I said, I love it, like. And he said, will you be available the next 6 months on call if I need you for other work on this movie? And I said, absolutely, no problem.
Wow.
I will be available for the whole 6 months. And
Right.
so
Wow.
he said, okay, well, it's not a guarantee, but I will call you when needed. And I said, okay, fine. So I went home, and as it happens, I never stopped working on that movie. I worked every single day
Wow.
the following 6 months. And that movie was called A Bridge Too Far. It was made in Holland at a real location. It was a war movie. In those days, it was the most expensive movie ever made. And all the big movie stars in the world were in it. And literally all the big movie stars from all over the world, they were in that movie. And during those 6 months, the English stunt guys, they taught me everything I needed to know to be able to carry on my own after they were gone. So after they
Hmm.
left, they left after those 6 months and they went back to England. And that's why I started my career on my own.
Wow.
And that was it.
That's
Did you get
awesome.
like a sense of an adrenaline rush once you did, like once you were in that scene where you were like, wow, I really like this, like I want to do it again?
No, not. I mean, I was. It was not. That was not really an adrenaline rush. It was just like it was a thrill to be there, a thrill to be with those people creating uh, the scenes and see the way it was working and the way a movie is made. Is
Yeah.
like,
Hmm.
by itself is a very interesting thing. A lot of people have no idea what happens behind the scene. Like
Yeah.
how it's all being put together. And nowadays you can buy a DVD or a movie and then you see the making ofs.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in those days there were no making ofs. We didn't know how movies were put together and how movies were made. And to me it was a very interesting, and I was mesmerized when I saw it all happen.
See,
So,
I
And
like
so
when
how?
you I like when he says something like that because of the fact that no one really knows what's going on behind the scenes with filming TV shows or anything. So I always give, as much as even if you don't like something, I always give a lot of credit to the people involved in all of that because it takes a lot of hard work and dedication.
right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
but that goes for everybody, right? Everybody on set is like there's been situations where I was on a movie and the stunt guys started hollering and hooting and clapping their hands and going, "Oh, this is awesome," and all that kind of stuff. When a guy was doing a stunt like a high fall or a car flip over or something like that, and when I was coordinating movies and that was happening, I would tell them not to holler and hoot, because if they wanted to do that, then they had to do that for every single member on the crew, because
Right.
every single member is doing his job. You as a stuntman are doing your job, and there's no
Yep.
reason for you to holler and hoot when somebody does something, because that's just what we do. You know, we do stunts.
Yeah. I was curious. So, when do you go back and watch the films that you're in? And then when you do you see yourself on screen? Then do you holler and hoot like, "Hey, that's me, that's me"? You tell your friends like,
Well, sometimes yes, but honestly, I'm not a film goer. I'm not a fanatic movie um, watcher, because when you watch a movie, you're watching a story being told.
right?
When I watch a movie being made, and
That makes sense.
that's
I
not
like
always
that.
that's not always fun.
It definitely makes sense. It almost takes the fantasy out of it when you go to watch it in the theater, because you're like, I already know that's fake. I already know how they
Yeah,
did this.
yeah,
Your mind
And
starts looking at it in a different way.
that's
yeah.
why a lot of actors do not watch, when it's like the premieres. There has been a lot of actors that have gone to the premieres, they've done the, like the hellos, the goodbyes, and then they leave before
Yeah,
the movie comes on, because they already know what they're seeing. They know how the mechanics work and how the movies were made. So I
yeah.
don't think they want to stick around and see something that they know that they've made.
Well, the main reason is because you know what you did, and 9 out of 10, not everything that you've done ends up on the screen. You know, because you do numerous takes, and the times that I was very disappointed in a movie that I worked on myself was when stuff that we did and we worked hard to get it done and never ended up in the movie. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that's the disappointed part. And then when I watch movies made by other, by not by me, then I look like, oh, I would have done this different way, or I would have done it like that, or like this, or
Yeah.
not have shown that thing because it doesn't look right, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I
And
could see how that can mess you up trying to watch a movie, especially if you're in it. You're just
right,
like, yeah. Yeah. Your mind definitely goes somewhere else.
yeah, yeah.
I do have to ask, because it's always like, since you did say that you had numerous of characters that you did, play, which one was your ultimate favorite that you did get to cover?
On Return of the Jedi, you mean?
Yeah, out of the 6 characters.
Well, my least favorite was the Gamorrean Guard.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so.
I would say so too.
Yeah. That
Because
didn't turn out too well.
that costume was not fun, I tell you. Like,
Oof.
you had this huge hat that you put on. The exit of the mouth was about, I would say, 6 inches away from your face. So you were in there rebreathing your own air.
Oh,
Mm.
And
wow.
we could only wear that hat for, I would say, maximum 5 minutes, and that was it. Then you had to take it
Wow.
off and breathe again. Because nowadays, when you look at cosplayers, they have little fans inside, and they have
Yeah.
systems to get fresh air in there. We didn't have that. We had like a piece of paper, somebody standing in front of you with a
Yeah.
piece of paper going like that, uh,
S-
and that was
Stuck
it.
stuck in a latex mask and just sweating to death.
Yeah, yeah,
I've seen
Oof.
like behind the scene photos where like they've had Anthony Daniels, where somebody had to go through the back of C3PO's helmet and was like hosing him down with water because
yes,
they couldn't do it through the front. So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I can't even imagine with somebody having a full Gamorrean guard suit, and like you would
Mm.
have to stick a hose with
Yeah,
between like the
yeah.
nostrils for you to be able to get water.
Yeah, no, it wasn't fun. Let's put it that way. And
But
then,
your favorite
of
one?
course, there was still the problem with the Sarlacc pit. It was constructed in such a way that you had to really know what you were doing when you fell onto it. Otherwise, you would break your arm or whatever. Like you would get hurt.
Oof.
Yeah,
It's amazing how many stuntmen you've gone through. Just to hear that, I'm like, you don't even think about it, like you said, because you're caught in the fantasy. You're
yeah.
just like,
No,
man,
what
that thing's
actually
not safe.
Yeah, what actually happened was the pit itself was the tunnel was built was a solid timber
Mm.
tunnel, like huge, tunnel with a big hole down the bottom, and the tunnel was covered in foam rubber, and over that they put some sand and some glue over it. But when you hit foam rubber, uh, when you touch it and you want to turn your hand, it won't slide. So
Oh.
when you were falling onto it, and let's say your arm was on it first, and then the rest of your body would keep on going, because your arm wouldn't slide, it would be stuck, and then the rest of your body would
Oh,
spin
yeah.
around it. So you would like tore your ligament or break a wrist or break an
Wow.
ankle. That kind of stuff that's what was going on.
I
So
wonder if Lucasfilm had an orthopedic doctor on staff
You're gonna have to,
for the
man.
amount of
no,
limbs that were
no,
being broken.
yeah, no,
Wow.
we we did have a nurse there. I remember we do, but he couldn't do much other than just putting it in an ambulance and take us to hospital, and then in hospital they would take care of you.
So when you got the job to work on Return of the Jedi, were you already a fan of Star Wars, or because I know you say you don't watch a lot of movies, but I
Oh,
mean,
oh, Star Wars is not the kind of movie that I like to watch, and in those
mhm,
days, I never saw Star Wars or Empire of the what was it, the
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back. I never saw those movies.
Wow.
Now, what happened was I went to England to visit a friend, which was Elf Joint, who got me into the business. He's the stunt coordinator who got me into it on A Bridge Too Far. And I went to America to visit him, and he used to live very close to Elstree Studios, where
Mhm.
they were filming Return of the Jedi at that time. Anyway, I went to see him, and we met up in the bar in Elstree Studios, and we had a little conversation and a bit of lunch, and then this guy walks in. His name was Peter Diamond, and Peter Diamond was the stunt coordinator on the Star Wars movies, and
Mhm.
I was introduced to him and by Elf, and then Peter said to me, he said, "Are you working right now?" And I said, "No, I'm not working." He said, "Do you want to work?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And then he said, "Okay, go to building so and so and get fitted." So I went to building so and so, and they fitted me into a stormtrooper and a rebel soldier, and that was it. That day, I started working on the movie.
Wow. Just went for
And
lunch, and then you started working on Return of the
yeah,
Jedi.
I
That's
didn't go to
amazing.
an audition or anything. I just bumped into the stunt coordinator at lunch at the bar
Wow.
at the Street Studios, and that's how I got on the movie. And then we
Talking
did,
about
and
fate.
then we did a couple of weeks studio work, like with the rebel soldiers and the actors and stormtroopers and all that kind of stuff. All the interior stuff in the bunker, the Ewok bunker, and what else did we do? Some of the interiors on the barge, I think we did, and that was it. And then we were shipped to Yuma, Arizona, and that's where we
Mhm.
started filming the Sarlacc pit scene. The
That's when it
bar,
started getting real hot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
That's insane. That's like talking about fate, just like running into this gentleman and boom, here you go. You got a
yeah,
job.
yeah.
Go.
Well, it's
Yeah,
like that saying they always say, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and
yeah, no,
it's a big truth to that.
well, a lot of people ask me like, how do you get into the business? And I say luck.
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
like what I had. I was lucky to hear about this uh, audition for stunt for special extras. I was lucky to be in England when to be able to work in England when the big movies were all made down there, like Star Wars, like Indiana Jones, Superman, you name it. All the big American movies were made in England in those days.
Right.
And that was because the dollar exchange, it was cheaper to make the movies in England than it was to make them here in Hollywood or in LA, so to say. So then when it started to really slow down in England because the dollar exchange didn't work anymore, then I realized I got to go to America. So that's when I applied for my green card, and luckily I got a bit of help from Spielberg, George Lucas, and Harrison Ford. They, my attorney, my green card attorney, asked them to send a letter saying that I was the best thing since sliced bread, and that
That's a good reference. Those are good references
Those
to
are
have.
good
exactly,
references.
and the American film industry couldn't live without me, and so
Yeah.
that's why I got my green card in like literally 3 months. So
Wow.
that was it.
That's fast.
And
Well, I
I think
will say, sir, you are titled as one of the best in the stunt industry. So I can understand why these guys
They're
were not
bragging about
hesitant
you.
whatsoever to write that letter for you.
I don't think so. I mean, there's other people. There's always somebody else better than you are.
I like how you stay humble, but it's okay. We know the truth.
We know the truth.
Yeah,
But I'm curious though, because you started out like you say, you just kind of like ended up into the business. How long did it take before you were the stunt coordinator on a movie where you were kind of
actually,
teaching everyone
actually,
else?
because I was the only one in the Netherlands after the English guys left after they finished a bridge too far. I was the only one in the Netherlands, so I started coordinating and doing
Wow.
stunts and doing everything myself. Like one of the movies I did with maybe you know Paul Verhoeven, director Paul Verhoeven, Dutch guy. He
Think so.
did Total Recall,
Yes.
uh,
Okay.
Starship Troopers, you know, all those kind of films.
Right.
Well, I worked with him in the Netherlands, and one of his movies that he did was called Spatters. It was about young kids, motorbikes, and you know the way they live their lives. And on that movie, I was the coordinator, and I was doubling for every single person on that movie.
What?
So I did everything myself. I,
Did you
I
get
had
paid?
like
Well,
had like an RV, and in the RV were all the costumes for all the actors that I doubled for.
oh my
And
gosh.
sometimes I had to change like 3, 4 times in one day into another costume and do another stunt for
Oh
somebody
my
else.
gosh.
Did
So
you
I
ever
that
know
get
you.
sleep?
hmm?
Did you ever get sleep around that time?
I did, but you know that's why I had my own RV there so that I could sneak away and get some sleep in between
And be,
films.
yeah, when they're dressing the sets, you're like, I gotta go take a nap.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So have you had any like major injuries during all
No,
this time?
no, I had a torn ligament in my uh, torn ligament in my what
Your
called this
rotator cuff?
shoulder. In this shoulder, that's why this piece is sticking up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's your
And
that's on your
and a, ba-
rotator
and,
cuff.
and a badly twisted ankle, and that was it.
Oof.
Wow, that's a blessing because after all the stuff that you've done and you've come out just with that, yeah, that's
The thing is, a lot of people think that doing stunts is dangerous. It doesn't have to be dangerous if you're given enough time and enough money to prep yourself properly and
right,
get yourself organized. Then it should nobody should get hurt.
right,
There's no reason for anybody to get hurt as long as you do your homework. Uh, I look at it this way: if you take an Eskimo who's never seen a car in his life before, and you put him in a car and you say like, this is the steering wheel, this is a gas pedal, this is a brake pedal, and this is a stick shift, uh, and do you get it? Like this makes you move and that makes you turn left or right. And then he says, yes, I get it. You let him go and he runs into the first tree that he can find
yeah,
because he
yeah,
doesn't know how to drive a car.
right.
It's
He
it's
didn't
it's a
prepare,
learning process, like if
right,
you teach him how to drive, then eventually he will drive. But
right,
that's how it works. You have to learn how to do stuff and
right.
don't do stuff like by impulse, or don't think I can do it and you've never done it before, because that's where people get hurt.
Right. So you've got to practice how to fall and
Exactly.
just
Exactly.
like, was there ever like a fear of heights? Like, do you ever have any stunts where you're like up really high and you're like, hey, I don't know about this?
I don't have a fear for heights, but the thing that I'm the most proud of that I've ever done in my life was my first 100-foot fall.
Oh, wow. That's,
And
yeah.
Ooh.
what happened there was that was still back in the Netherlands. I built my own airbag to do high falls into, and
wow.
and I started teaching myself how to do high falls. And the way we did it out there was I went to a practice tower with the fire brigade in the village where I was living,
Mhm.
and that practice tower is 60 feet high. It's 6 stories and 60 feet high. So I taught myself and started off at floor number one, 10 feet, then floor number two, 20 feet, 30 feet, and worked my way up to 60 feet. And that took me about 2 days to teach myself how to do falls into my airbag, like forward, backwards, head first, feet first, sideways, you name it, any type of fall that you can think of. I taught myself how to do that. And so after those 2 days, I was pretty happy with the way I performed my falls, and I was confident in, yes, I can do this. So then a couple of weeks later, I got a phone call from somebody, and they wanted somebody to fall off this church tower back in the Netherlands, which was for a book promotion for a book. And the book was written about this historical character back in the Netherlands that uh, sacrificed his own life to save the villages that he was the mayor of, or the count of, or something like that. And so they wanted somebody to fall off that same tower that he fell off in the 1700s, I think it was.
Wow.
And so I went there and looked at the tower from the street up, and because I couldn't get inside and look from the top down, so I looked up and I went, like, it's a little bit higher than the 60 feet that I've done now, but I should be okay. And so I took the job, and we agreed on how much they were going to pay me, and then a week later I had to turn up and do it. So I get there with a friend of mine. I put the airbag down, and I went inside the church tower and climbed up to the top. And then I looked over the edge, and I went like, "Holy mackerels! This, this is a little bit more than I'm used to, like 60
Yeah.
feet something." But then I looked down, and I went like, that big airbag, which was 18 by 24 feet by 10 feet high. It looks like a stamp on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
And on top of that, the wind was blowing a little bit, so it was moving as well. And I
Oh
went like,
man.
what did I get myself into? Like, this is crazy. I can't do it. And then again, my friend, he was with me, and he said, like, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I have no choice. I got to do it because they already paid me, and there's like 50,000 people watching it, and
Holy crap.
TV stations, and uh, newspapers, and everybody's there to watch this person falling off that tower to promote this book. So
Wow.
I'm sitting here, I'm sweating like crazy. I'm sitting up there, and I go to my friend and I said, like, here's my bank account number. Give that to my girlfriend so she can empty my account, and
Uh,
you take my car. And then and he said,
call
what
my
are you,
lawyer.
and he said to me, like, what are you doing? And I said, well, just in case it doesn't go right, then
Oh
at least
wow.
it's been taken care of. He said, you got to cancel it. And I said, no, I can't cancel it because they already paid me. And there's all these people watching it. It has to happen. I have to do it. So
Holy
anyway,
crap.
here I'm sitting. My heart is pounding like crazy, and I'm sweating and everything. And I'm going like, what am I going to do? And anyway, then they called me on the walkie-talkie, and they said, like, are you ready? And I said, yeah. And then I climbed on this wall, which was a foot wide wall, and I paced up and down,
Oh
looking
my
down at
gosh.
the airbag. And then they said to me, like, are you ready? And I said, yes, I am. And the moment I said, yes, I am, I calmed down completely. And I said, okay, call it. And then they said, and action. And then I dove off and I fell into the airbag, got off it, and I was fine.
Wow.
And but that moment where I had to push myself to actually do it, thinking that I would get hurt, that was a moment where I went like, that should never happen again, because that's where I learned that you have to prep yourself 100.
Right.
What I should have done in this particular case was I should have gone to that tower and go like, okay, I have to look at it from the top down, then I know what I'm up against. I have to measure how high it exactly is, and then prep myself by going to another building and work up to the from 60 that I already was okay with to the 100 feet, but work myself up to it from 10 feet to 10 feet to 10 feet, finally to the 100 feet. That's what I should have done, which I
Right.
didn't. And that's why I got in that situation where I was
Yeah.
scared to death, and I was
Wow.
thinking that I was going to kill myself.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you didn't prepare for it. So when you put yourself in that situation, then you brought fear into it. And you should
Right.
never have fear into doing
No,
something that's all, it's dangerous. It is. But
exactly.
the fear is just going to make
Yeah.
it even worse. Like even you telling that story, I was putting myself in your position going, And then the whole time I'm thinking, like, where was the wind blowing and how, when you're falling, you're worried about the wind because that bag's not that big.
No, I wasn't too worried about the wind because I knew that where I was going to go, but it was the height. It was
Yeah.
did I put the airbag in the right position? Is it not too
Oh
far
my
out or
God.
is it not too far in?
Yeah.
Am I going
Oh
to hit
man.
it dead center or not? Because
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
See,
it's. When you do fall into an airbag, you have to hit it dead center. If you hit it off center, then it works against you, and then one side of the airbag deflates and the other one inflates, and it
And it,
pushes you off, and you hit the ground.
oh no.
You know,
Dang.
you don't want that to happen.
Because it's
see,
funny
I
you're talking about airbags. Have you ever like had to jump off into like boxes? Because usually you used to
Yes,
see that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it started. That's
Yeah.
the reason why I built the airbag, because when we were doing it into boxes, you could only go up to 40 feet, 50 feet maximum, because
Okay.
you know boxes you can only go to a maximum height.
Those
yeah.
Uh,
can't feel good either.
in
Boxes
airbag,
can't feel good. Just the corners of them, like,
yeah, no, I mean boxes is fine, but as I said, you're limited. The height is limited.
yeah.
With airbags, you can make an airbag bigger to go higher. Like nowadays, we don't use airbags anymore. It's all
Hmm.
it's all on wires, on
Yep.
computerized winches. They you can now go 500 feet, 1,000 feet if you want to. If you can find a building high enough, you can go that high
Or someone
by
crazy enough, a
by by,
thousand
by
feet.
being in a harness and being on a wire, and the wire is on a computer controlled winch.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Yeah,
I think of the part where you're sitting there and saying like give my bank number to my girlfriend and
right.
my car to you. I went skydiving years ago and that was the most creepiest thing I could possibly ever do. And I did the same thing as you. Like
Nope.
I was writing things down on a piece of paper and I told my friend Diana at the time, I was like, Diana, I was like, I don't know how you convinced me to do this. I was like, but if something bad happens, I was like, take this paper. I
Oh
was
my
like, it's
gosh.
got all my passcodes. Give it to my mother. I was like, tell my brother and my dad I love them.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't skydive. My daughter did it, and I'm just like, man, you're braver than I am. I just
I won't. I will never dive out of a perfectly serviceable aircraft.
right. That thing can land nice and smooth, and you're
Well,
good.
for me it was a surprise birthday gift that my friend Diana
Mm.
got for me and she didn't tell me what it was until we actually got to the facility and she
Right.
already prepaid for it. So in my mind, I don't know why the guilt kicked in and I felt bad and I was like, well,
Yeah.
she already paid. I was like, she paid for it. So
What
I
what
was
makes
like,
her think that? Oh, Nilda's gonna love this.
I
We're
have
gonna
no
jump out of an airplane at
still to
3,000
this
feet.
day, I don't know why, but like if you look at my
Oh man.
pictures in that moment,
Yeah.
I looked
Oh
petrified.
yeah. I'm not
But
doing that.
the other thing with skydiving is you're depending on equipment and how your parachute is packed,
Yes, and you're
and
depending on who you're
and
tandem
that's
with.
something you don't do yourself. Somebody else is doing
Mhm.
that, so you have to trust somebody else. And in general, like my injuries, the times that I got injured was because of somebody else failing, like uh,
Wow.
equipment failing or somebody else didn't do his job
Yeah.
properly. And skydiving, the same thing. The parachute is packed by somebody else, unless obviously you're experienced, and then you do it yourself. Then bungee jumping, another thing. I don't know how many people have been on that bungee.
Yeah, I've done that before.
And bungee stretches, and like eventually it will give. It will not function anymore.
Yeah, rubber
No,
bands.
yeah, exactly. Rubber bands, and they stretch, and then suddenly they don't stretch anymore. They snap, and
Yeah.
Oof.
that's one. I mean, how
So
many times have you heard about accidents with bungee jumping,
Oh
a
yeah, you
lot
see
of
it all.
with
them.
Yeah.
skydiving, with base jumping, to
Yeah.
name
So
another thing?
so
Another.
anyone that's tuned in that's all into becoming a stuntman, I think right now we're steering them away. We're like, don't dive out of an airplane, don't bungee jump.
No, I have kids coming to me, and they said I want to become a stuntman, and then I go like, why? And some of them, they say like, well, I fell off my motorbike quite a lot, and I, I
I
love I
like
love
it.
I love crashing cars into trees and that kind of stuff. And I said like, well, then you're not the kind of guy that we want in this business, because we're not looking for dangerous freaks. We want to look for people who are are trying to do something that looks dangerous but isn't,
Right.
and
Because you're
that's
prepared.
that's what it should be. Yeah,
Wow.
Oh wow, I like that. You're steering away the crazies and getting the more normalized
Yeah,
people who
yeah.
want to do stunts.
yeah,
Well, you
no,
want to make a career out of it. You don't want it to end very shortly. So you have to be prepared, be smart about it, and then.
exactly. And you do a hard day's work and you get well paid, but you want to be able to spend that money as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't want to spend it on medical bills.
Exactly.
So, being that you have been on the spectrum of both ends, being that you have been a stunt person yourself, and you've also been a coordinator. Out of the two, from the both sides, which one do you prefer the most? Do you prefer doing the stunts, or do you prefer being the coordinator and, organizing and
I
building
like I like
structure?
no, I like being the coordinator, but I still love to do stunts. So if I get a call from a coordinator who wants me on a job now to do stunts, I love going and doing it. Yes. So,
Yeah.
but it's a bit of both. Like being a stunt coordinator is not easy. People think it's easy money. It's not, because it's a big responsibility, and
Yeah.
it's not only for what the stunts, but where it goes to for the stunts, it's also about the budget, because you have to come up with a budget for a movie, and if you're wrong, if your budget is not high enough, you get blamed. If your budget is too high, you get blamed. You can never do it right. You can only do it right if it's exactly dead on what you say it's going to cost,
Wow.
and that's a big responsibility, because you're dealing with millions of dollars for your department only, and if you're like 100,000 over or 100,000 under, that's not appreciated by the producers.
Oh,
You just got to
wow.
tell them it's safety first. You can't put
Yeah,
a price on safety.
yeah,
Like, come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's
you
always
got you got to
Wow.
be dead on when you submit your budget.
Right. So are you still doing many stunts, or is it just more
Not
coordination?
not as many as I would like to. I have two camera cars as well that I rent out to the film industry, and when I rent them out, I drive them myself. So that's a sidekick that I do, and
Okay.
I get quite a bit of work out of that. It's actually it been working on a movie, and now I can talk about it because it's out. It's Beverly Hills Cop,
Okay. Yeah.
the new one that comes out.
That's on
Uh,
Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it is, and
It is.
and
Okay.
but anyway, in the movie, there is a helicopter that flies into the streets of Los Angeles, and then there's a scene that plays around that. Well, one of the things that they did with my camera car, they put the shell of the helicopter on it, with the actors in it, and
What?
the helicopter is on a gimbal, so it can move sideways, and it can make that move. Plus, that we made it four-wheel steer, so the rear end is steering and the front end is steering, and that way you can make the helicopter body like going sideways through the street.
Oh, okay.
That is what one of the movies that
Wow.
my camera car was moved, my camera platform was used for.
That's great.
I
And
do have to ask, what was it like being on the Born Legacy, like working on that?
another movie.
It's just like it's a job. It's just
It's
another
another
I
movie.
just
movie.
I just feel like that movie just had more stunts because I've watched all of them. And
Right.
like even, your extensive list also with Terminator, with Terminator 3. I feel like those movies have more stunts in them, so it's like more, like more work that's added to it.
Yeah, in Terminator 3, I was the stunt coordinator on for that chase scene where she gets in the crane and she manipulates with her brain. She makes all these police cars move and everything. I was stunt coordinator on that scene, but that scene only. I didn't do much more than that in that whole movie.
Okay. And for the
But
Born Legacy?
Born Legacy, that's when I was driving the camera car that we were talking about.
Okay.
So let me see if I can remember. That was a scene with where the motorbikes were involved. Remember when he gets on the motorbike and he's being
And he's
chased
being
by
chased.
all sorts of stuff, and um, that big chase scene in Bangkok.
Okay. And
Yeah, it
then
was
also
Wow.
your list was Starship Troopers as well, which people make fun of me about this all the time, but it is one of my favorite cheesy
a trooper.
sci-fi 90s. Yeah.
That's actually another story where I say being at the right place at the right time, and my career is most of 50% is luck. Starship Troopers is one of those. I was applying for my green card, and in America, a guy that I used to work, a second unit director that I used to work with in England quite a lot, he was doing a movie in America, and he called me and he said, like, what's the situation with your green card? Do you have it? And I said, yes, I do have the envelope. All I have to do now is enter America, and then I get the green card finalized, and that's it. So he said, okay, jump on a plane, come to LA. I got a job for you. And I went, okay. So I jumped on a plane. He didn't tell me what it was for, nothing. And jumped on a plane with my family, and ended up in LA. The next morning, I went to the studio, Sony Studios in Los Angeles, and I went to see my friend, the second unit director. Vic Armstrong is his name, by the way. And I said, okay, here I am. What's the score? And he said, well, let me introduce you to the director. You already know him, but let me introduce you to the director first. So he introduced me to Paul Verhoeven. Paul
Mm.
Verhoeven is the director that I worked with in the Netherlands. I did several films with Paul back in the Netherlands. And so I get introduced to Paul, and then I said, well, what do you want me to do? And I said, on this movie. And I said, and they told me, we want you to be the stunt coordinator. And I said, I can't do that because I don't have my SAG card yet. And I need my SAG card to be, working on this movie anyway. And they said, no, that's all arranged. Paul, we made Paul write a letter to SAG, and he told SAG that he won't do this movie unless you're on it. So,
Okay.
okay,
Wow.
well, okay, fine, wonderful. So I said, but are you sure? Because there must be a lot of people here in America who want to be coordinating this movie, and
Hmm.
some people are probably better than I am, and also they know the industry here in LA better than I do. I said, no, Paul wants you to be on this movie, and he wants you to be the stunt coordinator. I said, okay, fine. What happened was there were like uh, hundreds of people that were trying to get on that movie, be the stunt coordinator and stunt guys. So they hated my guts because I was a
Oh,
total
geez.
outsider. Nobody knew who I was. And I fly to America and I get the biggest movie that year that was made in LA. And I get it to be the stunt coordinator on it. So then we started working. And as I said, I was very, very lucky to get that movie. And then when we started working and I started hiring stunt people, then suddenly after we hit number 125 or something like that, the American stunt people didn't hate me anymore. They started liking me more and more because I was giving a lot of jobs away. And so, as I said, that was another piece of luck getting on that movie.
Should change your name to Lucky Beer.
Yes, I guess. I guess so.
So now that you live in America, do you attend a lot of conventions to do signings and things?
Oh
Because I
yeah,
know you were just in Texas.
oh yeah. But that didn't start until uh, 18 years ago, some 15 years ago, somewhere around there. Uh,
Yeah.
One day, my daughter came home from school. She was 10 or 11 at the time, and she said like, "Daddy," and I go like, "Yeah." She goes like, "You're famous," and I go like, "What are you talking about?" And then she said, "Well, there's this kid in school, and he has a book about Star Wars, and you're in it as one of the people who played Boba Fett." And I said, "Who's Boba Fett?"
Oh no.
And then she showed me the picture, and I said, "Oh yeah, I remember putting that costume on, that bluish costume on." I said, "But in the same movie, I played five or six more characters." And she said, "No, no, no, no. Boba Fett is the one that makes you famous." And I
Ah,
went, okay, well, okay, fine, thank you.
you're like,
And
I passed out for nothing. What the heck?
yeah. Anyway, so time goes by, and then about 3 or 4 months later, I'm stunt coordinator, second unit director on a movie in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, and um, one of the stunt guys that was working for me in local stunt guys in Albuquerque that was working for me, he had a comic book store. And he told me about the comic book store. And then I told him the story about my daughter coming home telling me that I was famous. And then he said, "Well, you should go and do these Comic Cons." And I said, "And then what?" And he said, "And then you will make some money because it's an upcoming industry, and people love to see people like you and get your autograph."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Okay, well, if I can make a lot of money, then it must be worth for you setting it up for me, organizing it, and you take 10% of what I make." And he said,
Mm,
"A deal," and that was it. So then the movie's
wow.
done. I go home to LA, and then 3 months later, he calls me and said, "I got a Comic Con for you." And I said, "Okay." So it was in Dallas, funny enough, where we were now. Uh, that was, by the way, where I met the promoter on this last one. I met
Okay.
him. I met him on that particular show in Dallas.
Oh
Anyway,
wow.
so I turn up. I turn up in. They fly me over to Dallas. They put me in a hotel, and then the next morning, this guy. His name is Jim Burleson. Maybe you've heard about him because he started doing Comic Cons in New Mexico very shortly after he got me into a couple of them. Anyway, I turn up in Dallas. He put me behind a table with all the pictures on it because he got the pictures from official pics,
Mm.
and he got all the pictures on the table. And most of the characters, I didn't know the names at the time. I had no idea. So he was telling me, "Oh, that's Barada, and that's the Comorian Guard, and that's a stormtrooper, and that's a biker scout, and this is Boba Fett," and you know, that, that's how, and I sat there, and then I see all these pictures on the table, and then the doors were still closed, and I said to him, "And now what?" And then he said, "Like, wait until the door opens." And I went, like, "Okay." So I'm sitting there, the door opens, all these people come in, and they come to my table and other tables because there were other guests as well signing.
Mhm.
And I went like, "This is crazy," And I'm sitting there with my head down, because I had no story to tell, because the stories came later. I started remembering things, but he was telling people the stories about me, and because I forgot, totally forgot. Because when did I do that movie? In 1982, and
Yeah.
only like 15 or 18 years ago is when I started doing these Comic Cons, and that first one was like an eye opener for me. And then
Yeah.
and then after that first one, I went back in tried to remember what we did, where, and how it all went, and so all the stories came back after that.
Right.
Before that, I had no idea.
Oh, wow.
And then when the doors opened, you go, huh, I must be famous.
It was crazy. I tell you, it was absolutely
Wow.
crazy.
That's
Well,
so
And now
cool.
Comic Cons back then were insane. They were,
they, but
like,
then it was just starting. Like Ben
yeah.
Stevens was one of the first ones. Ben Stevens from Dallas, the guy from Official Pics. He was the one who was one of the bigger ones in those days, and he was the one who did Celebrations and all those. And through Celebrations, obviously, I started remembering more and more. And at Celebrations, there were people coming over there that I worked with on the Star Wars movie, and yeah. Now I just walk in and I have my fun, and I do my thing, and I have my
Yeah.
stories and all that.
It's old hat now. You've got it down.
Oh, it's crazy! It's crazy.
We do
But do
have
you
a,
still enjoy them?
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, sorry,
sorry.
no. I was going to say, do you still enjoy doing the cons, just
Oh,
meeting
I
the
love them.
fans and
I love
stuff?
them. What I
Yeah.
what I do like about it is you don't see unhappy people.
Mm-mm.
Yes.
At
Oh,
every con, everybody's happy, and the best thing for me is when a kid comes to my table, and they go like, "Are you?" And then I go, "Yes," and then I go like, "Wow," all that that
yeah,
is
that's cool.
that's what I think is really really cool.
That's
The
great.
little kids. Sometimes I had families coming in front of my table, and there were 4 generations at once, like a little one,
Wow.
next one, next one, next one.
That's
Four.
awesome.
Yeah, I've
That's
had that.
amazing.
What I think is amazing about the whole Star Wars uh, prequels, sequels, the Star Wars universe, it's like the only um, movie, as far as I know, that still captures the attention of the new generations, the young
Oh,
kids.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if there's any other franchise that does that.
It's timeless. It really is.
Totally.
Yeah, we had it was what, like a month ago, Sean. We did an interview with Roger Christensen, and he also said the same thing, that Star Wars is something that he sees will be passing generations and generations moving
Hmm.
forward,
And it still keeps on going.
and it still keeps
Oh,
on
yeah.
going.
Yeah.
The
It's,
franchise
it's,
itself is almost hitting 50 years, and it's still
yeah.
gonna keep going.
Yeah. It started like the first one they made in 77. Actually, they made it in 76, the same time when we were doing the first movie I ever worked on. And well, that's what, 45 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
76, 77. No, it's almost 46, 47 years.
Hmm.
We're getting old.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I thought the gray gave it away, but no, that's not it.
Right. Yeah.
I do have to ask. I see that you have an assortment of collection of helmets back there. Are you a collector? You like to collect?
I started not collecting. I was given a lot of stuff by
Okay.
different stuff by people, and
Okay.
I'll show you. I'll walk around there.
Nice little room tour.
And then when I was given all that stuff, I started like collecting myself. So this is my helmet collection.
Oh, wow.
Nice. That
The
looks
only
Okay, I
good.
see
one
the
missing is Darth Vader. I'm still looking for a Darth Vader one. But these are all replicas, obviously. And
Right.
then this is all stuff that's given to me.
Oh,
Wow.
wow. That's
And
amazing.
Yeah, that
you know,
looks
there's all
great.
the Boba Fett stuff. There's all the weapons that are used in the movie. Like there's the Boba
Well,
blaster, and
yep,
this was for one of the biker scouts.
Yep.
yep.
That's another one for the stormtroopers, and
Wow.
so I got all that stuff, and then a lot of stuff that's given to me, which is all back here. Look, all the books and little thingies.
That's absolutely
That's
amazing.
great. That's great.
It's all. Most of it is given, you know, like.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know the company Sideshow.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yes, we do.
Yeah, they've taken a lot of our money.
This is from Sideshow. They
I
gave
have
me,
Okay.
that. I have that Boba Fett.
yeah, they gave
Yep.
me that one, and they gave me this one.
Oh wow. That's awesome.
That's it. Yep. And then you know, obviously, all the toys, all the
Yep.
action figures there.
That's so cool.
I got most of them.
Yeah,
I
that
got
looks
my own
good.
Funko Pop actually. You see it there?
Oh, that
Yeah.
is so cool. I love it.
A guy in Germany made that, and he made one for himself and one for me.
So you need to get those mass produced and then just start signing them and selling them at cons. And I guarantee you, people would buy them.
Right.
You can make some money on that. Just, a little side
Oh,
gig.
I lost your picture. I don't know what I did.
Nope. Can you
still
still
see
hear
me?
us though? Can you? Yeah, we can see you. Can you still hear us?
I can hear you, but I can't see you anymore. I don't know what happened.
Oh.
Let's see if we can.
Did something wrong.
I think he probably hit something in his screen.
Yeah, something with the
There we are. We're
camera.
back again.
We're back. Yes.
We're back.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, we did have one question from someone in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you can elaborate. It said, "Is elaborate on your experience on Henry V or View to a Kill."
Henry V and View to a Kill. Try
Tell
to
me,
remember.
you were sleeping in the trailer. You'd get out, you'd do a stunt, and you go back to sleep.
Henry V. Henry V. We did that scene. I was in that scene where the battlefield with all the horses and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Where they go. That was the only thing I did in that movie. There was not much else
Right.
where it comes to action anyway. But it was a very interesting movie to work on, and that was all back in England. Can't even remember the studio now. And what was the other one?
View to a Kill with James Bond.
Oh, I did 3 James Bond movies. I did one with Sean Connery, which was Never Say Never Again.
Oh, wow.
Then I did the one with Roger Moore, which was A View to a Kill. And on that one, I only coordinated the title sequence, which was that sequence where he is in a white outfit and he's been chased by about 10 Russian soldiers, a helicopter, and all that kind of stuff. And then finally he ends up on a submarine kind of thing, which looks like a block of ice. But that's the only scene I did there, coordinated that chase sequence. And then the third one is Tomorrow Never Dies with Pierce Brosnan.
Nice.
And
so, were you excited for the James Bond films, though? I mean, it's James Bond. He's been around forever.
I know. I mean, that's another franchise that just keeps on going forever.
Yeah.
But it's not with every generation. That kids are not really interested in James Bond.
Yeah,
4 or 5
I'm from the James Bond generation, so yes.
Yeah, I mean, every stunt coordinator in the world wants to do a James Bond movie, and I've been lucky, and I did work on 3 of them, which I feel privileged that and that's how they make you feel. Actually, if you work on them, you must feel privileged that they allow you to work on a Bond movie.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I
But
do have to ask, Dickie, are you doing any upcoming cons?
I have one coming up this month on the 30th in Anaheim. I have December one in England. I've got a few coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like I might be running into you probably again soon, probably.
I would not be surprised.
I'll I'll make sure to run up to you and say hi again.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
I'll
Yes.
be there.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to meet in person. Make a few cons on the East Coast. I don't head out to the West Coast too much, but
No, there's not many on the West Coast actually.
yeah.
Funny enough, the ones in on the West Coast or close to Los Angeles, they don't do so well in general. Other than
No.
the celebration, of course, is like a big one.
Right.
It's always doing well, even when it's here in Anaheim. But the cons that I've been with here on the East Coast, they're not as good and as big and as successful as the one in the rest of the country. Funny enough,
Hmm.
and,
Oh, wow, okay.
and especially around LA. I mean, obviously San Diego is a different story, but San Diego is so big that I don't even want to go there anymore because it was too big.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've never been to San Diego Comic-Con, but I've seen photos and I have sometimes been like, I don't think I ever want to go because it's
Yeah,
a
they say it's
very
chaos.
massive, it's
No,
chaos.
Chaos.
I went there and I was there with official pics. I was sitting next to Mark Hamill,
Mm.
and the people. It's so busy that the people cannot even get to your table.
It's crazy.
You know,
That's
it's really like chock-a-block. People are cramped into each other, and they just have to push themselves through the amount of people that it's insane. That
yeah, they almost have to sneak you guys in and sneak you guys out so you don't get bombarded.
Yeah. No, it wasn't fun. I could not see the booth on the other side of the open space. I
Wow.
could not see what was going on there because there were so many people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Dickie, sometimes not sometimes, all the time. I like to wrap up my shows with if somebody wanted to get into stunt. I know a lot of people come up to you and ask, and they have the idea that it's meant for people that want to, go fast and crash, and that's what they like. If you had any advice for anybody that's inspired, that sees one of your films and says, like, or goes to a panel and hears you talk and says, you know what, like, I want to be like Dickie Beer, what would be one recommendation that you would give to somebody who's inspired to be just like you?
I would say if you get one thing that you're specialized in, could be like motocross, could be car racing, could be skydiving for that matter, could be show jumping with horses, could be um, anything with horses, but something that you're really good at. If you can use that skill that you have and get into the movie industry using that skill, and then from that moment on, once you're in, keep on going, keep on learning, and keep on listening to other people how they're doing it. But to get that first one, that's a question of, it's not how good you are or how skillful you are. It's more like how lucky you are. I would say, like, in our business, to get in there, it's about 25% of your skill that get you there, but the other 75% is luck. Being at the right place at the right time, talking to the right people, picking up the phone at the right time. It's
Wow.
all
It's true.
it's you have to be lucky to get in.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how skillful or how talented you are. That only counts for about 25% of making it.
I like that.
Unfortunately. I mean, even my daughter, she came home about 6 or 7 years ago. She graduated from college, and I was expecting her to go to university, but she came home and she said like, "No, I'm not going anywhere. I want to get into stunts." So I said, "Okay."
Mm.
I said, "Don't expect me to give it to you and put you in there. You have to do really work hard to get in there." And she said, "Yeah, I know," because I already told her the same story as I told you guys. And but she's very slowly, and now we're talking about 7 or 8 years later. She's very slowly getting where she wants to get, and she gets more and more work, and she's been asked more and more, and But it took about 8 years, and she's teaching herself skills like over these past 8 years. Like she got her uh, big rig license, she got her scuba diving. She's like a safety diver or rescue diver, registered rescue diver. She's really good at horses, which she's always been. So that was her skill that
Mhm.
she started with. Horses, that was her thing. And now she does precision driving, fights, coordinating fights, high falls, fire jobs, you name it. Like she's doing it all. But it took a while before she got there.
So it sounds like
And
it's going to be a legit family business.
I hope so. I hope so
Yeah,
for
yeah.
her. You met her boyfriend,
Yeah,
Dimitri.
Dimitri.
Yeah, he's getting into stunts as well now. So,
Okay.
uh,
Oh wow, yeah, just
Nice.
a nice little circle of stunts.
yep, yeah.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Well, Dickie, I have to say this was awesome. The stories that you have told us have been amazing. And, like even when I said to you before, when we met at Rebel Scum, just like hanging out and chit-chatting for a little bit was nice. I'm always, I told Sean, usually when I go to cons, I have people always expecting me to record and like to do the interviews while I'm there. And actually, I have more fun just sitting back and getting to meet you and like talking to you and hearing stories, and it's something that stays with me. And I really appreciated that with you at Rebel Scum, like getting to hang out and talking for quite a bit.
Well, that's what we're there for, right? Because it's not just giving an autograph or people buying autographs. It's they're interested in the stories behind, the face that they now stand in front of.
Yeah,
That's the thing that I do like about the Comic Cons. Talking. What I hate is these guests that are sitting there with their head down and just sign, and they don't even look at
Yeah.
the people that they sign for. I don't think it's right because they come there because they want to connect with you. That's why they're
Hmm.
there. It's not just the autograph.
yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that. So thank you for that. That means a lot.
Thank you.
Well, for anybody that's tuning in, I know that Dickie is on Facebook. I know he is on Instagram. I'll be putting all his links in the comments if you guys ever want to check it out in the bio. But yeah, just expect Dickie to be hitting up some of the cons very soon. I know once I see it in my stories, I'll be posting it on there. I'm pretty sure Sean will do the same.
Yes.
But yeah, Dickie, thank you so much for tuning in. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you, Dickie, and we do appreciate all of your time, and we love the stories. So that's why I said that's the best part. I love it.
I was looking at behind you. I see a picture
I
there.
got.
Oh yeah, Sean, he sees your stuff.
Oh yeah, we've got to here. Let's see.
Yeah, you got some stuff there too.
Yeah, I got a Boba Fett. I got a
Hey,
Boba Fett right over here.
lightsabers.
Yeah, let me get out of here. Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
Yeah,
yeah.
Nice.
right. Yeah, right now my toy collection is all packed up because I later on will be moving to a bigger home, but I am in the transition right now of building my first Mandalorian suit from scratch.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's gonna take me like about a month.
And that would be quick then if it's only a month.
Well, I got the 3D printing of all the like of the pieces. That
Uh-huh.
took about 2 months. It's probably going to take me like about a week to having to sand everything down. And once I'm able to spray paint it afterwards with the drying and everything and kind of like adding the weathering, I think just adding the Velcro should take about a month. So maybe give or take in 3 months, I should have this
Yeah.
fully ready.
Yeah. 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 And then you're still not happy with it.
No, I'll probably be adding more stuff to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you again, Dickie. I really
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
I was gonna say
Pleasure.
stay on the stream. I'm just gonna end it and then we can just chit chat right afterwards.
Okay.
But thank you
Okay.
guys again for tuning in. I know Sean and I had a great time.
Yes,
And
this
we
was
appreciate
awesome.
yeah, and we appreciate everything from you guys. May the force be with you.
Peace.